What are Jennifer Lopez and Sean Diddy Combs hiding now? Sean Diddy Combs and Jennifer Lopez both have skeletons in their closets, maybe one more than the other, and I'll let you decide. But they were dating from 1999 to 2001, but it was far from a smooth ride. Their time together was marred by a number of issues, including a bizarre and confusing threat from Diddy that left people puzzled. Even J.Lo suspected Diddy was cheating on her. Jennifer revealed in a 2001 interview with Rolling Stone that Diddy would often threaten to divorce her, despite the fact that they were never married. She said, "He told me many times, I want a divorce." She explained that this threat would come up often, usually when they were struggling to find time to see each other due to their hectic schedules. Diddy, frustrated by their lack of time together, would say, "I'll be away so much, I can't get away, so where do I send the papers?" While Jennifer described herself as a homebody, Diddy was much more inclined to spend his free time at the club. She said, "Puff loves to go out. He's been a going out to the clubs type of person all his life, doing his thing. I've always been a homebody, so we switch off what we do when we're together. I don't really like to talk about us because I don't feel like it's anybody's business. It's a separate thing. He's an artist, I'm an artist, we have two separate careers." J.Lo was keen on keeping many of the details about the relationship private, stating that she wanted to keep certain aspects sacred. After their breakup, J.Lo admitted how Diddy exhausted her. While addressing the 2 years with Diddy, she told Vanity Fair, "It wasn't a great time in my life. It was scary. And we broke up many times before that and got back together and broke up again, and nobody knew about it. It was very toxic. Towards the end, it was emotionally exhausting. It was good that I was young." Following Diddy's recent arrest, resurfaced photos of Jennifer Lopez, Diddy, and some other celebrities, including Aaliyah, all snuggled up on a bed at a party, has stirred a lot of controversy. The photo shows them all on the bed, all smiling, at Diddy's 4th of July party in the Hamptons in 2000, and at the time, Lopez and Diddy were, in fact, in a relationship. The image has been circulating on social media, prompting many reactions from fans. One person commented, "This Diddy scene aged horribly," while another said, "That divorce with Ben Affleck makes more sense now." Others have chimed in as well, saying, "We don't know what happened that night. We might have to get Jennifer Lopez too." And someone else noting, "J.Lo has been awfully quiet." These discussions have caused many people to now revisit Diddy and J.Lo's club incident, and in case you don't know, the couple was once arrested together after police found an unregistered firearm. The question that seems to linger in the wake of Diddy's arrest is just how much Lopez was privy to while dating the rapper for 2 years. While some seem convinced there is no way Lopez didn't know anything about the crimes, others are not so sure, including one of Lopez's ex-staffers who shared her thoughts. She said, "If you knew Jennifer Lopez, if you ever worked with her like I did, or if you were close with people who are like family to her like I am, you would know she did not have any idea about Diddy." As of right now, Lopez has yet to comment publicly on Diddy and his crimes, and reflecting on her relationship with Diddy, Jennifer Lopez did, however, mention in a 2003 interview with Vibe magazine that infidelity was the main reason for their breakup. J.Lo said, "I never caught him, but I just knew." She said Diddy would claim he was going out to the club for a couple of hours, only to end up disappearing for the entire night. She said, "It was the first time I was with someone who wasn't faithful. I was in this relationship with Puff where I was totally crying crazy and going nuts. It really turned my life into a tailspin." In that same interview, she described in further detail just why she left Diddy. She said, and I quote, "I had to think, do I want to be home with kids in 10 years wondering where somebody is at 3 in the morning?" They broke up in February 2001 once rumors of his infidelity began to circulate. Diddy's publicist said at the time, Mr. Combs confirmed that he and his love, Jennifer Lopez, have in fact broken up. He wanted to put all the rumors surrounding their relationship to rest. At this difficult time, we ask that you respect his privacy. It was reported, though, that Diddy made several attempts on more than one occasion to get Jennifer back. He would send flowers, love letters, he even sent over 100 white doves to her. When asked one time on a talk show if any of those attempts worked, J.Lo simply said, no. A fan said on social media, "Has anyone ever considered the fact that J.Lo is traumatized from Diddy, which is why she can't stay married?" Many people piggybacked off of that also, saying that that was a good point, and maybe all along the issue was and still is Diddy, and his lasting negative effect he has has had on her. Not that long ago, Lopez was asked about Diddy's allegations while interacting with fans after a screening of her film Unstoppable during the AFI Film Fest in Los Angeles. She was signing autographs when a woman asked if she had any comments about Diddy and the allegations against him. Lopez then moved towards the elevator with her security and promptly ended the signing session, distancing herself from the crowds as she walked away. You have to wonder why she's so reluctant to say anything. Is she scared or is she hiding something? We don't know. But JLo's past romance with Diddy has drawn renewed attention. Jennifer Lopez has yet again found herself at the center of the latest accusations against Diddy. Another leaked photo of her and p.diddy fighting at one of his infamous parties went viral. The latest accusation comes from a lady who claimed that she was SA'd when she was a young woman by Jay-Z and Diddy. The incident happened at an MTV Music Video Awards after party after the girl was picked up by a driver who said she fit what Diddy was looking for. At the time, she was a young woman living in New York and she dreamed of attending the VMAs, so she snuck out of her house and a friend agreed to drive her to Radio City Music Hall in New York City. But without a ticket, she said she stayed outside where crowds watched the awards show on a jumbotron. The woman looked for a way to gain entry either to the VMAs or an after party, and that was how she actually met a limo driver who claimed to work for Combs. Now, it is alleged the driver offered to take her to an after party. In the suit, it is said that the driver told her that Combs liked younger girls. The driver picked her up later that night and dropped her off at a large white house, where she was met by two men who asked her to sign a document before going inside. The woman now believes the document to have been an NDA, and also adding she actually never received a copy. The lawsuit says the residence was filled with celebrities, and according to the lawsuit, the girl went to lie down in bed after being handed a drink at the party. Diddy eventually entered the room with two celebrities, one a man being Jay-Z and one a woman unknown. Jay-Z allegedly held the girl down and essayed her while Combs and Celebrity B, the female, watched, who many people now are speculating and believe might be JLo. In the newly surfaced photo, Jennifer Lopez can be seen arguing with Diddy at the party while he has one hand on the wall and his other hand holding a champagne bottle. A guest who actually attended the exclusive bash recalled witnessing the argument, which apparently ended with Diddy making an early exit with his entourage. Now, the guest said everyone was dancing and enjoying themselves, but as the night progressed, tensions rose between him and JLo. This is yet again, of course, another secret that has surfaced and has dragged JLo right into the mess that is unfolding. More and more people are coming out with different stories on that night, and at some point, it's gonna become very difficult for Jennifer to avoid addressing any of this. Will she eventually speak out and defend herself against these accusations that she knows more than she's let on, or will her lips remain sealed?
So for obvious reasons, Puff Daddy's dating life has come back into the spotlight amid his federal charges and investigations. Now, speaking of relationships, when it comes to celebrities and their ever-happening love lives, Jennifer Lopez is probably one of the most talked of in Hollywood for that subject. Now in her post-Ben Affleck 2.0 era, JLo has had her fair share of heartache, and recent events have brought the famed actress's troubled past back into the limelight. Puff Daddy and JLo apparently had a roller coaster of a relationship, and fans want to know the real reason why they broke up in 2001. Their relationship was kind of monumental at the turn of the century. It was turbulent, but hey, according to them, they wouldn't change a thing about how it all went about. For timeline purposes, folks, they dated from 1999 to 2001, and JLo claimed that Puffy was the first man to be unfaithful to her, but allegedly he is not an ex who manhandled her. Glad we got that out of the way. JLo decided to end it for good after wondering, do I want to be home in 10 years wondering where somebody is at 3 in the morning? So when Jennifer has previously opened up about the relationship and that specific timeline, she explained that the duo met just as she was entering stardom and preparing for the release of her debut album, which Puffy had helped to produce. They became an official couple after being together on the set of her If You Had My Love music video. Talking to CBS in 2019, JLo said he became kind of a mentor to her in that moment. They had that kind of crazy, tumultuous relationship that ended in a bang. Pun intended. Now, despite the hardships in the relationship, JLo recalled a lot of lessons that she learned from Puffy while they were together. She mentioned that he gave her so many cues, taught her so many things, and she mentioned this in an interview with Access Hollywood back in 2014. She'll always be grateful to him for that, and she loves that he can be so supportive of her so many years later, and there's still so much mutual respect, admiration, and love there. And you sure, that's all sweet, but the relationship did have its low peaks. The two were arrested in December of 1999 after them, Puffy's bodyguard Anthony Wolf Jones and rapper Jamal Shine Barrow got involved in an argument at Club New York that ended with the firing of weapons. At least according to Forbes. So Puffy, JLo, and Anthony left the club and were chased by the police. Authorities found a stolen weapon in the vehicle they were driving. And back in 2000, JLo mentioned to Elle magazine that this whole thing was a complete nightmare from beginning to end. She was scared in the car, she had absolutely no idea what was going on, no one did. Obviously, everybody was arrested on weapons and bribery charges. However, the charges against Jennifer were promptly dropped, and Puffy was acquitted in 2001. And while that was definitely a major low point of the relationship, you gotta remember there were some high points. Puffy was JLo's date to the 2000 Grammy Awards when she wore the iconic green Versace dress that is still referenced all these years later and is the reason why we have Google images. And when looking back at that moment that JLo wore that iconic Versace dress, Puffy told Entertainment Tonight in 2017, just wow. We were just stepping up our game as far as what we were wearing and how we were going to use fashion. I don't know how big it was going to be, but it was a great moment for her. She deserved it. She is one of the, quote, flyest out there. So the Let's Get Loud hitmaker and the I'll Be Missing You rapper broke up in February of 2001 once rumors of his infidelity began to circulate. Now, Puffy's publicist said at the time that it was confirmed Puffy and his love, Jennifer Lopez, have in fact broken up. He wanted to put all the rumors surrounding their relationship to rest, and at that difficult time they asked that folks respect their privacy. And although Puffy didn't publicly comment on the speculation, other than that, JLo opened up about the relationship in the years that followed. In a 2001 interview with Rolling Stone, she mentioned that Puffy would often threaten to divorce her, despite the fact that they were not married. The direct quote is, "A lot. He told me many times I want a divorce." She explained that this threat would come up a lot, usually when they were struggling to find time to see each other due to their hectic schedules. Puffy would be like, "Oh, I'll be away so much." He's like, "Where do I send the papers?" And it's like, come on, dude. JLo mentioned, like, those two had very different ways of thinking. And while noting that he loves to go out, JLo said that she's more of a homebody, or she was at the time. And it looks like all that love of going out might have gone hand in hand with the infidelity. Speaking to Vibe magazine in 2003, JLo said she never caught him, but she just knew. He'd say he was going to the club for a couple of hours and then he'd never come back at night. She just found herself in this relationship where she was always crying, she felt crazy, she was going nuts. It just really put her in a tailspin. But still, the on-the-floor singer was very keen on keeping a lot of the other details about the relationship private. She's like, look, I want to keep something sacred, and like, I respect that girl. Now, after the breakup, JLo admitted that Puffy just exhausted her. And while addressing the 2 years that they spent together, she told Vanity Fair that it wasn't a great time in her life. It was scary. And they broke up many times before that, got back together, broke up again, nobody knew about it. It was emotionally exhausting. And she mentioned, like, it's good that I was young. So back in 2014, JLo released her song Booty. And Puffy had all the high praises for the song. And noted, like, the video was great. He said it's a work of art. He said it's something that will go down in history. She will never give up. She's a great friend of mine. That thing is just incredible. I am so lucky to have that great woman in my history. She's one of the greatest I've ever seen. Go girl. He mentioned that they were great as friends. He's great as a fan rather than a love interest. And when JLo heard about the praise, she responded that, hey, we spent 3 years of our lives together, you know, almost every single day, seeing him evolved in everything and all the things he's done as a businessman, and still being so true to his music and his art, trying to uplift his community in his own way. And it's the same thing that I try to do, and I feel like I learned a lot from him coming up watching him. So once again, mentioning a lot about learning cues from him. So how did all of this jargon come to light? So earlier this year, JLo opened up a lot about her former awful relationships in her tell-all documentary, The Greatest Love Story Never Told. So if we're talking about the history with Ben Affleck, she was talking about that, and obviously at the time, fate was like, no, you're not gonna unite. Fast forward to 2021, they rekindled their romance, married in 2022. It was one of the biggest will they won't they stories for the longest time, and now we're back to the won't they, don't try that again. But, and here's the reason we're referencing this, folks, JLo described being thrown around and manhandled by lovers. But she didn't disclose who. She mentioned there were people in her life who said I love you and then didn't do the things that were kind of in line with the word love. She did clarify by saying, I mean, I was never in a relationship where I got harmed, thank God, but I've definitely been manhandled and a couple of other unsavory things. Rough, disrespectful. And because I'm afraid of getting in trouble, once again, she did explicitly say it wasn't Puffy. But still, take that with a grain of salt. She hasn't made any kind of comment about Puffy's allegations. And it might be because, well, she's kind of busy with that whole divorce from Ben Affleck thing. So, by the way, back in 2021, when rumors were swirling that Ben and J-Lo were reuniting once again, Puffy posted a throwback photo with his ex. And he was called out for the timing, but he's like, oh no, it's nothing. He said, it wasn't no trolling involved, that's just my friend, and I don't have anything to say about her relationship or her life. Okay, well, it was a little suspicious. One of Puffy's longtime rivals claimed in their podcast, Collect Calls, that, by the way, the raid was actually a factor in Ben and JLo's divorce. He said, I'm quite sure the FBI probably called. It's a white man who got respect in the white world. I'm quite sure they said, we want to show you some things about your wife. He also had some comments about JLo's involvement in the 1999 event in the club, saying, and they know the fact that JLo lied and said the weapon was somebody else's or whatever, sent that man to prison, destroyed his life, and she knew it was Puffy. All the Puffy stuff really came to a head last fall when Puffy settled a lawsuit filed against him by his former partner and Me and You singer Cassie, Cassandra Ventura. The pair dated from 2007 to 2018, and Cassie's lawsuit accused Puffy of a lot of things.
We obviously gotta end the year off with a kaboom with Jennifer Lopez and how Jay-Z's lawyer potentially just messed things up for this girl. Before we get into how our girl from the alleged block got into this mess, let's give you new viewers out here the rundown as to why Jay-Z is in some hot water right now. We gotta travel back all the way to the year 2000, where supposedly Jay-Z along with Sean Combs had both been a part of some adult things with another person that wasn't of age. This information came out recently this month, where a woman who was going with the anonymous name Jane Doe claims that both of these artists had taken advantage of her at Sean Combs' after party for the MTV Music Awards ceremony. Jane Doe stated that a friend of hers had dropped her off at the ceremony at Radio City Hall, but she apparently didn't have a ticket to enter the venue and really wanted to go to the party that was being held after. A driver she had approached for information, who stated they worked for Sean Combs, said that she quote-unquote fit what Diddy was looking for, and received an invite from the driver to go over when the show was done. As they made their way over, Doe describes the house as being white and was told to sign a non-disclosure agreement before she was allowed to enter the establishment. When she finally entered the house, she witnessed other celebrities partaking in illicit actions and was offered a drink, to which she stated she started to feel woozy, lightheaded, and felt like she needed to lie down. Jane Doe states that she had found a room to rest in, but that's when Diddy, Jay-Z, along with an unnamed female celebrity, came in with Diddy allegedly proclaiming, "You are ready to party." I'm sure you guys can use your brains to figure out what happened next. Jane Doe managed to escape though by going in for Sean Combs' neck before grabbing her clothes and running out the front door. But some more recent information on this alleged night came out not too long ago. Jane Doe has come forward stating she has made mistakes in her original story. Not one, not two, but three inconsistencies. The first one being about her father, who was allegedly there to pick her up from the party after the incident, but he claims that he had no memory of doing so. Jane Doe, however, stands on the fact that her father did come, but he apparently has a hard time remembering certain things. But now I'm triple confused because the other sources were stating that she ran until she saw a gas station and then called her father there. Jane Doe states, there are a lot of things, and this is stuff that we argue about constantly. Something he said or did back in New York around the time period he just doesn't remember. It actually causes a lot of fights sometimes in the household. The other inconsistency is that she had spoken to musician Benji Madden at the party, but his representative was quick to jump on that and say, no, he and his brother were on a tour halfway across the US during that time. Not an actual quote, just me speaking. The final inconsistency was that whatever photos she brought forward or claimed to have been of Jay-Z and Diddy at the party did not match her original descriptions for that particular night. Jane Doe ties it together with, honestly, what is the clearest is what happened to me and the route that I took to what happened to me. Not all the faces there are as clear, so I have made some mistakes. I may have made a mistake in identifying. I'm just saying, these are very important details that you are messing up. Not saying Jay-Z is out of the hot water yet, but just You know, now you have Jay-Z's lawyer on your butt trying to now expedite the case's dismissal. Yes, now we're getting into J-Lo, the alleged second unknown celebrity that was also in the room with Jay-Z and Diddy during the supposed event. An article that just came out yesterday, December 19th, from Media Takeout states that Jay-Z's lawyer is apparently linking J-Lo to that night, which I find super weird when you're trying to dismiss the event ever happening. Tony Busby, Diddy's lawyer, didn't include Jennifer Lopez at all in their statements. Jay-Z's lawyer is calling all these speculations a false extortion plot, but yet people can't understand why he's adding fuel to a fire that he is trying to put out. A snippet of Jay-Z's legal filing states, photo from the night in question show Mr. Combs and Mrs. Jennifer Lopez at both Lotus and Twirl clubs in New York. He never once said, however, that they were also together at the alleged house, but rather that they were still together that night. A video then began circulating of a press briefing that the lawyer did, where he also included Jennifer's name multiple times to try and showcase how the time of the event couldn't happen if Lopez needed to be on the road at 12:30 a.m. The VMAs apparently ended at 11:11 p.m. and then both Lopez and Diddy had to go to 2 commercial events right after for photos, and then make it back to the supposed White House. Jane Doe mentioned where it all happened. Jennifer Lopez had been on the complete down low when the entire Diddy issue came to light, and now her PR team are stating she may need to now speak up about her experience that night since her name was mentioned. They are furious with it. Let's get into the supposed photos that were brought forward by Jane Doe that has gotten the internet trying to Sherlock Holmes this mess. The most infamous photo right now is the one where Jennifer Lopez in what appears to be a heated argument with Diddy in the Lotus nightclub. Now, it's again getting messy because at first people were thinking that the photo was taken after the illicit event happened, but in fact, this was hours before. Yes, it does prove that J-Lo and Diddy were together that night, but has no way of proving that she was the other woman in the room. That night, however, is not the only event that has Jennifer Lopez locked in with Diddy, because supposedly after the raid with Sean Combs' home, Ben Affleck was given supposed tapes that shows Jennifer Lopez's true connection to a nightclub event that happened all the way back in 1999. Jennifer and Diddy's relationship was a quick one during the early 2000s, specifically only lasting for roughly 3 years, but were still together when both of these crazy stories supposedly happened. Apparently at the nightclub, musician Moses Shine Barrow took the fall for Diddy during an intense scene that was going down, but J-Lo had lied, saying that Barrow was the one who started the incident in the first place, and that inevitably ruined his career by sending him to prison. Affleck even makes the comment, they go raid Puffy's house and they get all these videos of J-Lo doing this and J-Lo doing that. This, along with a former CEO of Death Records stating, I'm quite sure they, the FBI, probably called. It's a white man who got respect in the white world. I'm quite sure they said, we want to show you some things about your wife. Have people really speculating that the actual truth about that night is on these tapes. I wouldn't be surprised, since a former photographer of Diddy, Selma Fonseca, had supposedly had her camera taken one time while she was trying to snap some photos at a white party. He probably would have done the same for this too, trying to keep any information hidden from the public. The former CEO claims he is not surprised that Ben Affleck wants out of this ASAP after this. It's been no shock that Jennifer has been really stirring the pot when it came to her own publicity over the past year. From spitting her gum into an assistant's hand to getting an employee at a hotel fired for a simple autograph. From what we know about Ben, his slate has been cleaner than hers. At least that's what the former CEO says. He ain't tripping off paparazzi, he's living his life. He's got his own team. She done brought all that extra stuff out, and now that man he want out. Everyone seems to be believing that because of these videos, their relationships were put on the rocks again, and Lopez's silence really isn't helping our case. However, during the American Thanksgiving, Lopez had made a wholesome tweet of her holding a turkey and saying, I hope everyone had a beautiful and happy Thanksgiving. I am so incredibly grateful for all of you. One specific user brought up the tape's events again, and it went viral. The tweet is still up as of today, and the user, Molly Set, wrote as follows. Remember when you handed Diddy that item out of your purse and then proceeded to hurt an innocent woman? Remember how you fled the scene and lied to the authorities and public for 20+ years about that night? Do you think about that woman on these holidays? Or when you manicure your perfect face, well, she has remnants of that night on hers? I didn't even know about this part, and obviously having to say it's all still alleged, but that's insane. So what exactly happened that night? I obviously had to censor majority of the message, but definitely go check it out. This is an intense end of the year for J-Lo, from her relationship with Ben Affleck falling apart to her having past events be thrusted back into the future at full force.
Comments about p.diddy, the allegations?
Back up, look, don't lean.
If you didn't know, Diddy and J-Lo dated for 2 years starting in 1999, but Diddy was not good to her. So here's a list of every time Jennifer Lopez has warned us about Diddy. Starting off, we have the times that he cheated on her. Throughout their relationship and after their breakup, J-Lo was aware of rumors that Diddy was cheating on her. Now, she never had any concrete proof, but she always felt that he was. And hey, she was right to follow her intuition, as Diddy has admitted to cheating on multiple girlfriends in the past. Now, why did J-Lo feel like he was cheating though? Well, when the pair first met, he lavished her with attention, telling her he loved her almost immediately. Now, this initially made J-Lo uncomfortable, but he eventually won her over. As their relationship wore on though, the feelings of doubt crept back in. It was the first time I was with someone who wasn't faithful, she told Vibe magazine after the breakup. I was in this relationship with Puff where I was totally crying, crazy, and going nuts. It really took my whole life in a tailspin. Now, she grew increasingly concerned about his fidelity. I never caught him, but I just knew, she said of his cheating. He'd say he was going to a club for a couple of hours and then never come back that night. Now, Diddy himself admitted that he was often unfaithful in relationships. In a 2015 appearance on The Breakfast Club, he said his partners would often be frustrated with his behavior, so I think it's safe to say that J-Lo was right. Now, after they broke up and it was announced to the world, J-Lo later admitted that they broke up and got back together far more than the public knew, which honestly isn't healthy at all. But in the year 2001, the couple ended things for good. It was scary, and we broke up many times before that and got back together and broke up again, and nobody knew about it. Now, towards the end, it was emotionally exhausting. It was good that I was young, she told Variety in an interview. The whole thing just sounds exhausting and like a waste of time. It's good that she was able to get out of the relationship for good when she did, because who knows what else could have happened to her if she stayed. Then there was the way that Diddy spoke to her during their relationship. Jennifer revealed in a 2001 interview with Rolling Stone that Diddy would often threaten to divorce her, despite the fact that they were never married. A lot, he told me many times, I want a divorce, J-Lo said during the interview. She explained that this threat would come up often, usually when they were struggling to find time to see each other due to their hectic schedules. Diddy, frustrated by their lack of time together, would say, I'll be away so much, or he can't get away, whatever, but he'll say, so where do I send the papers? While Jen described herself as a homebody, Diddy was much more inclined to spend his free time at the club. Puff loves to go out, she said. He's been a going out to clubs person all his life, doing his thing. I've always been a homebody, so we switch off what we do when we're together. I don't really like to talk about us because I don't feel like it's anyone's business. It's a separate thing. He's an artist, I'm an artist, we have two separate careers, she said. But the fact that Diddy was saying all this to her is crazy and just controlling behavior, because he was trying to make J-Lo feel bad for him and do whatever he wanted. It was just very manipulative and not good. Now, with Diddy's recent arrest, people have been speculating about his time with J-Lo. An anonymous source said he was very controlling, he would constantly put her in uncomfortable situations. This is a good girl from the Bronx who never got into trouble or was wild. The source said he never hurt J-Lo, but she had her longtime manager, Benny Medina, to protect her. Benny would have ended Puffy's life if he laid a finger on J-Lo. But still, Puffy was controlling and demanding. Now, there's been a conflicting report though, as another source who knew the couple at the time said he definitely manhandled her, but it's a little low to bring this all up now, it's kicking a man when he's down. And I mean, now that we know how he treated his other exes like Cassie Ventura, it wouldn't surprise me if he mistreated J-Lo as well, which is just unfortunate. Then there was the nightclub situation. In 1999, Diddy was arrested following an incident that happened at a nightclub in New York. That night, Diddy was with his bodyguard Anthony Wolf, rapper Jamal Barrows, and Jennifer Lopez, who he was dating at the time. As reported by Forbes, the incident started with a disagreement and ended with 3 different people becoming injured. After the incident, Diddy, J-Lo, and Jamal left the scene, but then the 3 were involved in a police car chase. According to the Washington Post, police found a stolen weapon in the car. Now, both Diddy and J-Lo were arrested and, as reported by The Guardian, initially charged with criminal possession possession of stolen property. The charges against J.Lo were dropped overnight, but Diddy and Jamal went to trial. Jennifer spent 14 hours in a police station as a result of the incident. Now, she later described it as an unfortunate situation, adding, "We were somewhere we shouldn't have been, it was a bad situation, and any bad situation that involves celebrities, people run with." Then there's the fact that J.Lo's mom didn't like Diddy. Now, Jennifer found herself in an awkward situation when it came to her exes, Sean P. Diddy Combs and Ben Affleck, back in 2014. Radio host Big Boy posed the hypothetical question: you're on a raft in the middle of the ocean, and you look in the ocean and you see two people floating. You can only pull one up because that's how much room you have on the raft. You look in the ocean, you see Ben Affleck, and you see Diddy. I'd let both those mother effers drown, J.Lo said in the interview, before she reunited with Ben for the second time. Then she was asked about Diddy again in 2022 when she was on the Wendy Williams show. Wendy asked if she and Diddy would ever get back together. J.Lo laughed and shook her head as the camera panned to her mother sitting in the audience. J.Lo's mom looked furious as she shouted no while waving her hand back and forth. Now, reposting the clip on Twitter, one fan wrote, "Some of y'all didn't catch J.Lo's mom's reaction when Wendy Williams said this. I feel like this says a lot about their relationship." Then there's everything about Diddy's arrest. Diddy was arrested for running a crime ring at his infamous parties. Now, some of these crimes took place when J.Lo was dating him, so people online have been questioning her involvement. They've been digging up photos of J.Lo at the parties and have been speculating a lot. J.Lo, for her part though, has stayed silent, and she probably will for the time being, so I wouldn't expect to get anything out of her. You see, during a recent autograph session, the star was attempting to greet fans when faced with a tough question. "J.Lo, do you have any comments about P. Diddy and the allegations?" asked one person in the crowd. Now, immediately Jennifer stopped signing memorabilia, darting off with her team away from the fans. Others called out after her, telling her don't leave. Now, despite the pleas, she headed away and through a door out of sight. This is added to her streak of dodging any comment about the ongoing allegations of P. Diddy, as she remains silent on the subject. So here's a tip, I guess: if you want her to stay around, don't ask her about Diddy, because you're not going to get anything out of her. And I feel like her not saying anything is her saying something, you know? I'm sure she knows so much and is handling everything properly behind the scenes.
Just want a little bit of peace and love.
When relationships fizzle out, there's always so many questions about how and why. And when it comes to today's situation, I think there's almost too many questions. So when it comes to celebrities and their ever-happening love lives, Jennifer Lopez is one of the most talked about in Hollywood. Now, she's in her post-Ben Affleck 2.0 era, but she's had her fair share of heartache. And recent events have brought her very, well, not troubled, but very interesting dating past into the limelight. Oh, you don't know what I'm talking about? Let's see if I can refresh your memory. So let's go back to the year 2000. Puff Daddy's having a 4th of July party, and there's some photos that we're seeing now that have reignited some buzz. There's an image of him in a bed with J.Lo, Aaliyah, Andre Harrell, Natane Adcock, and Damon Dash, and most folks are dressed in white, minus Puff Daddy, J.Lo, and Natane, adding to some intrigue. And then there's another photo. All you see, J.Lo, Puffy, once again, cuddled up on this oversized bed covered in white pillows that I wouldn't want to run a black light over. Fans on social media have reignited discussions around the resurfaced photos, with a lot expressing surprise and reevaluating Jennifer Lopez's silence amid all of this. They're also wondering, has she been left traumatized by what happened during that era? If you didn't know, Puff Daddy and J.Lo had a roller coaster of a relationship, and fans want to know, why did they break up and what don't we know about what happened there? Their relationship was one in the history books at the turn of the century, but it was also very turbulent, at least according to them. But they're like, oh no, we won't want to change a thing, you know, we learned from it, we grew from it. Okay folks, we're gonna set the timeline here. The duo dated from the year 1999 to the year 2001, so 2 years. And J.Lo claimed that Puffy was the first man to be unfaithful to her, but very specifically, not the ex who manhandled her. So we got that out of the way. But she decided to end the relationship for good after wondering one night, do I want to be home with offspring in 10 years wondering where somebody is at 3 in the morning? Now, when she has previously opened up about this dating history, she mentioned that the duo met just as they were entering stardom. J.Lo was preparing for the release of her debut album, which he helped to produce, and they became an official couple. I believe they actually technically met on the set of her If You Had My Love music video. Let me know in the comments if I'm wrong. Talking to CBS in 2019, J.Lo said that Puffy became kind of a mentor to her at that time. They had this crazy tumultuous relationship that ended in a bang. Workplace relationships, folks. We've all had them. there's something. Despite the hardships in the relationship, JLo recalled the lessons that she was taught while they were together. She said, "He gave me so many cues, taught me so many things. I'll always be grateful to him for that, and I love that he can be so supportive of me so many years later, and there's still so much mutual respect, admiration, and love there." And sure, that's a real cute PR statement, but this relationship was not all, "ooh, so cute." These guys were arrested in December of 1999 after they and his bodyguard Anthony Wolf Jones and Raptor Shine Barrow got involved in an argument at a club in New York that ended with the firing of weapons. So Puff Daddy, JLo, and Anthony left the club. They were chased by the police, and the authorities found a stolen weapon in the car they were driving. So back in the year 2000, JLo mentioned to Elle magazine that that whole thing, that whole night, was a complete nightmare from beginning to end for her. She mentioned she was, scared in the car, very scared. She had absolutely no idea what was going on. Nobody did. Obviously, everybody was arrested on weapons and bribery charges, but the ones against JLo were dropped, and Puffy was acquitted in the year 2001, so okay. And sure, well, that was obviously a low point of the relationship. There were some high peaks. Puffy was JLo's date to the Grammy Awards in the year 2000, the one where she wore the iconic green Versace dress. The reason we have Google Images? So when looking back at that moment, Puffy did mention in an interview in 2017 that it was like just wow. He's like, "We were stepping up our game as far as what we were wearing, how we were gonna use fashion. I thought it was gonna really change the game as far as for her and for fashion." Obviously nobody knew how big it was gonna be, but he said like it was a great moment for her, she deserved it. Obviously, 2001, I think it was like February, there's some rumors starting to hit the press. Somebody's cheating. And things go. Puffy's publicist said at the time that yes, these two have broken up. Puff Daddy wanted to put all the rumors surrounding the relationship to rest, and they're like, "Hey, respect our privacy." And even though Puffy didn't publicly comment on the speculation himself, JLo opened up. She opened up in an interview with Rolling Stone that apparently Puffy would often threaten to divorce her, but they were never married. She was like, "Yeah, a lot. He told me many times I want a divorce." She explained that this threat would come up so often, and it was usually when they were struggling to find time to see each other because hectic schedules, they get rough. So Puffy, frustrated by their lack of time together, would be like, "I'll be away so much," or "I can't get away," and he'll say like, "Okay, where do I send the papers?" And it's like, come on, dude, really? So JLo revealed that the two had also very different ways of thinking. She was like, he loves to go out. She, at the time, was definitely more of a homebody, and it looks like that love of going out might have gone hand in hand with infidelity. Speaking to Vibe magazine in the year 2003, JLo said she never technically caught him, but she just knew. He'd say he was going to the club for a couple of hours and then never come back that night. So JLo found herself in this relationship where she was just like, she was hysterical. She felt like she was going crazy. Her whole life felt like it was really in a tailspin. Now, obviously, she does want to keep some details about the relationship private, some that I think we might want to know, but still. And she just admitted like it exhausted her. She told Vanity Fair magazine that it wasn't a great time in her life, it was scary. The two broke up many times before they broke up publicly, but then they get back together, then they break up again, and it was just so emotionally exhausting. And she said something I find really interesting. "It's good that I was young," which means like it was that mentally anguishing. Now in the year 2014, JLo released her song Booty, and Puffy had all the high praises for that song, and he was like, "Oh, it's great, it's a work of art. It's something that will go down in history." Yeah, okie dokie, pal. He's like, "She'll never give up," which like, okay, that's also an interesting statement. He's like, "She's a great friend of mine. I think it's just incredible. I am so lucky to have that great woman in my history. She's one of the greatest I've ever seen. Go girl." He's like, "We're great as friends." He's great as a fan rather than a love interest. And it's like, I'm sorry, you're talking about her like she's a possession, she's a person. Now, when JLo heard about the praise, she responded very politely. She's like, "Yeah, we spent almost 3 years of our life together, almost every single day, seeing all the things he's done as a businessman, still being so true to his music and his art, trying to uplift his community." She mentioned how it's the same thing she's tried to do. She once again mentioned that she felt like she learned a lot from him, and I get it, but once again, it still feels very staged, and I'd like to know what she's not saying. So, why are we talking about all of this? Well, earlier this year, JLo opened up about all of her relationships. Or pretty dang close. She had this documentary, The Greatest Love Story Never Told, and it was technically about her main relationship with Ben Affleck. I know, but they dated in the early 2000s, and then they rekindled their love in 2021, got married in 2022. It was one of the biggest will they won't they stories for the longest time, and now we're back in the never try that again situation. And in that documentary, she described being thrown around and manhandled by lovers. She didn't name names. And yes, I know, I mentioned earlier that she has said it wasn't Puffy, but still. She mentioned that there were people in her life who said I love you and then didn't do things that were kind of in line with the word love. And now she did clarify by saying like, I mean, I was never in a relationship where I got like harmed physically, but she's definitely been, you know, the subject of some unsavory things. And because I'm afraid of lawsuits, once again, she did say it wasn't Puffy. And she hasn't made any kind of comment about his allegations. And sure, it might be because she's really busy with that whole divorce thing, but there also might be something more there, and I would like to know.